Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, good morning, the world on YouTube Live. Uh, that was not announced, so only very curious people will see a beep on their phones. So like Sony is doing something live, but there's around 500 of them, so maybe some will join. So anyway, let's begin by generating some good thought and intention for to support and nourish our practice. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let us take a moment to make sure we're here. Whatever we've been doing before we arrived here, let it fade away into the past. Whatever we might have to do in the future, leave it on hold for now. Notice that your body, your breath, and your mind are here, enjoying this moment of freedom that you have carved out your busy schedule. Not Now that we're somewhat present here, we can notice what is, and we begin with our posture. The body has a very important function. Um, it is connected to the mind, and the mind is connected to the body, and so the way we sit has a direct influence on the state of our mind. First thing we notice the contact with the ground, and we maybe feel grateful for the support and stability we gain to this contact. Our hands can be resting, palms down, flat on our thigh, or in a meditation gesture, that is the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. Our back is straight, without unnecessary tension. Our shoulders are slightly outstretched so that we make sure our back is not caving. And as we breathe in and out, we begin to sense that our belly is relaxing and dropping until we really sense the center of gravity of our body, which is slightly below the navel. The chin is slightly tucked in so that our head is straight, but the neck remains free. There is no tension there. The mouth is relaxed, maybe in a half smile, and the tongue is lightly touching the palate. Our gaze is directed slightly downward, eyes half closed, in a soft and open vision of what is directly in front of us. If we find it more comfortable, then we can also close our eyes. Breath comes and goes mostly through the nostrils in a natural manner that we don't need to alter. Breath offers us a reference point towards which we can come back when we notice we're drifting, following trains of thoughts, retracing the past, and projecting into the future. As soon as we notice that we are following this train of thoughts and building up a narration, we simply disengage. And maybe we can make sure that we're still sitting properly for a brief moment. Maybe come back to our breath if that's helpful. Just simply following the movement of the breath. If that helps, counting the rounds of breath. But as soon as we have a sense of stability and attentiveness, we just abide there, come to explore the spaciousness and comfort of this stable mind. Thoughts, of course, will arise and sense perception too. And we don't need to repress them or suppress them violently. They are essentially they are not our enemies. We don't need to entertain them endlessly either. We see them like a bird flying across the sky in your field of vision. Thoughts are like the bird, and mind is like the sky. And the bird flies and goes, leaves no trace. We are not distracted, we are not disturbed, and peace remains. Feel free to move or stretch a bit if you need. The path to awakening seems sometimes to be a very long journey. And we wish we could have just an idea of what will be the ETA, and we cannot really have an ETA, the estimated time of awakening. We can't have this. But what we can see in our mind, our attitude, our behavior, is some significant changes. And they're pointing out that we are in the good direction, progress have been made, and we just have to keep going. And one of these signals is that we are more and more trustworthy, in the sense that we can trust ourselves more and more. We have two witnesses usually in anything, like what the world sees of what we do. That's the outer witness. And what we know of what we do, that's the inner witness. A sign of progress is when we can see that we don't need so much to have external approval to feel okay, or to feel that we are on the good path. In a way, we become more independent, which doesn't mean stubborn and close to any advice or any guidance, but the inner witness becomes more and more reliable. It's not, the inner witness for a long time has been kind of like the naughty boy that was misleading us, like, yeah, you can do that. That's cool, And now we realize that this inner witness has sort of like grown up, is much more reliable. And that's an absolute sign of progress. It has a very interesting side benefit, which is we don't depend on others. That means we can be with others, we can listen to what people have to say about what we should do. We have to think about it, and we have to say yes, yes, or no, thanks, no. And we decide by ourselves. And we feel good about it. There's a sense of, independence. We declare our independence. I don't need anybody to approve me. I don't have to freak people out by being sort of crazy in my way of being, but I don't have to always beg for some sign of approval from the outer world. This will never come clear anyway. Signs of approval are always connected to what people who approved you will get in return. What do you have to give them so that they can trade their approval with that thing? So it's always tainted with some sort of business deal. And if you're constantly depending on others, then people know you're weak, and they can sort of like play you and use you for their personal agenda. When you are more confident with yourself, your own decisions, and the way you're going to lead your life. Maybe some people will be a little bit annoyed with that because they can't push you around. And so they can't sort of like bend you to serve their purpose or their intention. So you might lose some friends. Were they friends? It doesn't really matter. So that's a great sign of progress when the inner witness becomes reliable. And so you don't need to depend on others. You can be with them even more so because you're not expecting anything. You know, I've been in charge of monastery for 17 or more years, and part of my job was fundraising. And I would never be. It was very uncomfortable for me to ask anything for myself. You know, I spent years in retreats, and then of course, you know, I needed some friends and sponsors that would, you know, contribute to my retreat time. And I came to a point halfway through the first retreat where I had no more money, and the secretary of the monastery was saying like, we're not going to kick you out of the 3-year retreat, but you really have to do something. Go out and, I mean, go out literally, write letters and go out. This was excruciating. But when I was in charge of the monastery and I had to go out and, you know, say like, okay, this year budget is $1 million. Can you be very happy to help us? It was easy because I was not begging for myself, or I was not asking for myself somewhat anything, not asking for a favor. But I was listening to donors because you can only interest somebody to give if what you have sort of corresponds to what they want to support and want to give. You can't force them into giving. And so most of my fundraising strategy, you know, the big donors, you know, the rule of the 80-20, huh? Like 20% of the people give 80% of the money. So the 20%, um, you can't talk about money with them. You can't go there and say like, oh, we need this. Can you help us? No. You come and then you create a relation of a friendly nature, and you exchange and you listen to their story, their interests, and so on. And at some point, they enjoy the exchange and they are nourished by the exchange. They see that there is something that can be really good for them in this. And then in the last 2 minutes, they say like, how can I help you? Then you must be ready, of course. Yeah, we need this and that, you know. I remember once on a major project, spending 3 days with a major donor and talking about this and that, visiting the countryside where this person lived and having a good dinner in a very nice restaurant. And then after all this discussion where we never talk about anything and any money and whatever, just like the idea of this project would be great, that person says, how much money do you need? I need, well, I need $2 million over 3 years. Okay, that's it. Let's talk about something else. Let's move on. Okay, so you can do this because you don't have a horse in a race. If you're depending on other people because the inner witness is not stable, then you become fragile. You can become a prey. People say like, yeah, I'm going to help you. You know, like in the story of Pinocchio, you know, this little who meets the wolf, not the wolf, the fox. Says, oh yeah, I can help you, and just to exploit him. So it's very important to find this independence. You're not rude, you're listening, but you know how to make your own decision. So this is really a great sign of progress on the path to awakening. And this is paired with another marker, if you will, is that
because the inner witness is reliable and trustworthy, you are not experiencing the ups and downs of uncertainty and comfort. You're sort of like on an even mood of contentment. You absorb what comes, the ups, the down, do the best out of it because you know where you go, you know how to do it, and then you just do it. So there's a sense of contentment, a joyful mind. You're not sort of like, overexcited when good things come and super depressed when it doesn't come the way you wanted. You just surf with all of that, you dance with all of that, and then as we're instructed here and there in different teachings, you use this, you recycle, you upcycle, you transform it. It becomes a platform for further discernment and further creativity and benevolence and whatnot. So it's easy. You know your job and you do it. So that's another sign of progress, that you're on the right track and then you're moving towards the right direction. And somewhat this mind that is regularly, would say, content and satisfied with whatever comes, I would relate it to one of the slogans that we saw a couple of weeks ago, which is "Don't turn gods into demons." Gods into demons means we have a very good opportunity. This human life, we have the Dharma, we receive many instructions, we can think, we can cultivate this independence. Don't linger in this old habit like it's never enough and why they have this and why not me. And you're wallowing, you're crying, you're like, because it is not what you wanted and so on. So instead of benefiting from the gods of the good situations and you know, here you would say counting your blessing, you sort of like keep uh, bookkeeping of your curses, most of them being homemade, homebrewed misery, you know, just don't do that. It doesn't bring anything. Okay, maybe you hope to have some attention. He's so sad. He's never happy. How can I help him? But then you have to be every day, you have to be or appear more and more miserable so that you get your daily dose of attention and cuddle, you know, just move on. Yeah. What is Sharwana's mantra? Get over yourself. Get over yourself, and then see what you have. You're alive. You have tremendous freedom inside, outside. Maybe not what you fantasize, but what we have is already great. We can use that. And then we can find contentment in doing what we know has to be done, using the tools that we have to work with what has to be done. That brings contentment. Otherwise, you always linger on, what is missing, what is not perfect, and you don't see the good that is already present. So these are good signs, good indicators of progress. And if you see that in your mind, in your character, do not minimize them, thinking like, yeah, it's okay, I'm okay, but it could be better. No, no. See them and appreciate them. And then take refuge in them in the sense of like, stand on them. That becomes your ground. That you know how to do it. You're happy doing it. It's not, doesn't mean it's simple, doesn't mean it's easy, but you know that you can turn this uh, situation that might be sad or painful or whatever into a awakening opportunity. And then when you do that, it's fine, because whatever comes, how long it will take to be awakened doesn't matter because you know what to do with it. So the ETA really doesn't care. You don't care. You don't need this because there is a joy in the process, more confidence in the process. You know, what can you ask for more? Okay, so let's go back to our moment of meditation.
Through these merits, may I attain true omniscience. Then, having overcome all harmful, destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now rise. Once arisen, may it never decline, may it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much. Thank you, the rest of the world, very much.